Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today we have another batch of leaks from Magic the Gathering's Edge of Eternity's expansion. It's absolutely crazy how many cards continue to leak from this set, and they're all looking crazier than the last batch of cards every single time we get more. It's just kind of insane. We're going to go over all of the new leaks. I think there's about 8 cards for us to tackle here. Before we do, please like the video. It helps me get it out to so many more people and helps the channel grow. I would appreciate it more than I can express with words. And be sure to subscribe because we have tons of crazy content on the way. More spoiler content. Spoiler season starts officially next week. And there continue to be leaks apparently up until then even. And we're going to be on top of that, getting that stuff out to you ASAP. Not to mention some crazy deck techs I have coming for Standard, which I can't wait to show you guys. So subscribe, do the thing, catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinedcapricorn, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Now let's talk about these cards. So first of all, we're going to start with an official spoiler that we didn't cover on yesterday's video. This is Command Bridge. And it's kind of interesting. It's nothing super crazy, nothing to write home about, but it is interesting. It is a common. It enters tapped, and it taps for a mana of any color. And when it enters, you sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped permanent you control. I like that you can tap literally any permanent in order to keep this in play. You can tap tokens, you can tap enchantments, where there's no reason to not tap them, which is kind of cool. And this is just going to be a really easy way for us to color fix in limited, to be able to go multiple colors, especially 3+ colors in limited, which seems really interesting to me. So not really a big hit for like constructed or anything outside of limited, but I do think this is pretty cool for limited, and I think the flavor is actually really on point as well, because you know, it's a command bridge. But next up we have our first leak today. This is Starfighter Pilot, a 2/2 human pilot for 1 white and 1, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, you surveil 1. Obviously, this is supposed to reinforce the idea of station being an important part in the set, having tons of spacecraft to station, especially in limited, having something like this at the common rarity where not only is it your 2/2 for 2, but you get a little bit of extra value whenever you use it to station things by being able to surveil as well. And of course, it's not limited to just stationing things. You can attack and trigger this as well. So there is a little bit of versatility built into it, but it's very obviously meant to be just some extra value you can get whenever you're stationing stuff, which is pretty cool. Next up, we've got another leak. This one's an uncommon. Virulent Silencer. Now, we saw bits and pieces of this card in some previous leaks, but we've never seen the entire card just completely spoiled outright. So we're going to definitely take a moment to go over it here. This is a 2/3 artifact creature robot assassin for 3 colorless mana, and whenever a non-token artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. And apparently the pumpkin decided to show up. She saw the silencer and she wanted to silence it. She's a bit of a hunter. But all joking aside, this card's interesting. I hope it's the only card that does poison counters, because poison's about to rotate, unless I'm mistaken, and I can't wait to see it go. Every single time we have some kind of a meta shakeup at all, sort of like the recent bans that we got, poison just kind of like rears its ugly head again. Everybody kind of goes back to poison and gives it another try. And I'm so done with it, man. I'm so done with the Dimir creatureless poison decks. I'm done with the Rot Priest bullshit. Like, just get it all out of here. That being said, a little bit of spice in the form of Virulent Silencer seems kind of cool. You know, play just a straight up artifact creature deck, have a way to give poison counters. Maybe you could make a deck that's this guy and Finn the Fangbearer, and then just play all artifact creatures with Death Touch, because then they could give poison counters with this guy and also give poison counters off Death Touch with Finn. And if you have them both out, you could give even more poison counters. And hopefully there's some kind of a proliferate mechanic within this set. I feel like they're sort of teasing in the direction of either proliferate or some kind of new mechanic that functions similarly to proliferate. So I don't know, there's a lot of potential for something like this, but we're going to have to wait until we see the entire set spoiled before we know for sure how good it actually is. I do get worried though when I see poison, because it can get out of hand, and I can't stand those archetypes as they are right now. There have been times where I've been fine with them, but the way it is right now, the card pool that it has right now, It's just so annoying. It's just so annoying. But assassins are cool. My assassin deck might try to run this. No, it won't. No, it won't. Next up, we have Larval Scoutlander. This is a 3/3 artifact spacecraft for 1 green and 2. It stations, and when it gets to 7+ charge counters, it gets flying and becomes that 3/3. So once you've tapped a total of 7 power worth of creatures to get 7 charge counters on this thing, it's just a creature forever after that. 3/3 flyer. What makes this card super good is when it enters, you may sacrifice a land or lander, and if you do, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. This is like... what is that really popular, well-known ramp card? Maybe it's Yavimaya something. I don't know, but it was incredibly popular in the old rock decks. You would sacrifice a land and search for 2. You get to trigger landfall things twice. Just a lot of craziness. This is just a strictly better version of that card. If you guys can remember the name of that card, let me know below. I feel like it had Yavimaya in the name. I used to run it in the rock all the time back in the day, like early days when the rock was new. But this card is just a strictly better version of it. You get to sacrifice, not only do you have to sacrifice a land, but you could also just sacrifice a lander instead. So if you happen to play something that makes a lander token, which is, if you guys hadn't seen already in other leaks and spoilers, a lander token is an artifact token where you can pay 2, tap it, sack it, search for any basic, and put it into play tapped. So instead of actually using the lander token the way it's meant, you can just sacrifice it to this and not have to pay the extra mana. And you just get 2 lands. So that versatility of being able to sacrifice a land or a lander token makes this strictly better than previous versions of this sort of effect. And then you also potentially get this 3/3 flyer as just like extra value to boot. It's just sitting there. I would even argue you don't necessarily have to play this in decks that plan to use the flyer. I think it's going to be good even outside of that. You can flicker this and keep ramping, which is kind of insane, even if you don't abuse it that way. Like, just the versatility of sacking a land or a lander token is awesome. The fact that it not only ramps you, but it can also color fix you. You could sacrifice your swamp because you already have a swamp and find an island and a mountain, right? Just so much that this can do. It double triggers landfall abilities, and we already know landfall is really trying to be a relevant archetype in Standard. Got a lot of support in Final Fantasy. So everything about this card seems awesome. Flickering it just seems crazy, and the fact that there's just free value in the form of this 3/3 flyer, if you can station it up to 7+ charge counters, just makes it that much crazier. I don't think it's quite crazy enough to be a rare, but it's on the cusp, man. Like, for an uncommon, I think this card is absolutely insane. It's just strictly better than old cards that have done similar things. It's... even if you don't want to use this artifact to flicker it or to turn into a creature or anything, you could still go wide with an artifact. I mean, hell, it can trigger Simulacrum Synthesizer. You can sacrifice it to Disturbing Mirth. Like, there's just so much value baked into this card, it's nuts. I expect this card to be a huge, huge, huge part of the new meta after rotation. It just does everything. It does everything you want. It's so good. Next up, we've got Starfield Shepherd. A 3/2 angel with flying, very cool, a cosmic angel, for 2 white and 3. When it enters, you search your library for a basic plains card or a creature card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle, and it has warp for 1 white and 1. So when you cast it, you can instead cast it from your hand for its warp cost, but if you do, it only stays out until the end of your turn, and then you immediately exile it. It goes into exile, and then on a later turn, you can play it from exile for its normal cost. So very similar to the way adventures work. It's kind of like Evoke mixed with adventures. Instead of sacrificing the creature right away and only get the ETB stuff, like Evoke, you keep the creature until the end of turn. You don't sack it, you exile it. You still get the ETB stuff. But then, like adventures, you can hard cast the thing from exile later on, and then still get whatever ETB value it generates. That just makes cards like this kind of nuts. Like, on curve, you can just pay 2, put this down as a 3/2. It's not going to do anything for you as a creature that turn, but it will find you a plains, help you get, you know, maybe the second plains that you didn't have to cast this thing initially. Or if you don't need a plains, it can find another creature, And then later on you play it and it finds another one. Like, all of that just seems awesome to me. This card, for an uncommon, seems really, really good. I feel like it's good in a way that most people are going to overlook, which I think is really, really interesting. But the value you can get here is nuts. And I need to remind you guys that all of these warp creatures are even better than they look on the surface, because you can use flicker effects to make them come back into play as their big version and then stay forever. So if you had like a 2-mana flicker spell, you could warp this out for 2 on turn 4, use the 2-mana flicker spell, and not only do you get 2 triggers of this, but it stays as a 3/2 flyer as well, which just seems pretty crazy. I think flicker decks are going to be absolutely insane after rotation, and I've been messing around with brewing flicker here and there the past X amount of sets, and it's always been kind of good, but it's always been just shy of being great, and I think this set is really going to take it over the top. I really think there's going to be a super relevant flicker deck in the new standard, and I cannot wait to brew it. But the next card is Tapestry Warden, a 3/4 artifact creature robot soldier with vigilance for 1 green and 3. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and each creature you control with toughness greater than its power stations permanents using its toughness rather than its power. Is this finally enough, or maybe this in conjunction with a couple more cards coming in this set that fit into this archetype? Could this be enough to finally make a toughness matters deck actually relevant in standard? Maybe. This thing is basically functioning like it's a 4/4 vigilance for 4, which is already kind of good, especially in limited. It also counts as an artifact, which I think is going to be super relevant after this set drops. But then in addition to that, it also stations well, and it affects all of your other creatures, and it's optional. So you don't have to worry about playing this in a deck where some of your creatures have higher power than toughness, because it's only if their toughness is greater that it's going to do it. So it's the best of both worlds. It can beef up itself, it can beef up, you know, some of the cards in your deck, and then the cards that are going to be better using their power, it leaves them alone to do their thing. There's just so much to love about this card, and it gets me really excited about what this archetype might look like in Limited. I'm crossing my fingers that it has a ton of support and there's an entire archetype in Limited that is built around this sort of thing, because I think it's time, guys. I really think it's time that a deck like this and cards like this are finally relevant in Standard. And as long as we have, you know, enough of a card pool for Limited at least, which I think this is a hint that there will be, there's a chance that it could be relevant enough in Standard as well. So I'm excited to see where it lands, but we're going to move on. The next card spoiled is the first of 2 rares that has leaked since my last video. This is Nova Hellkite, a 4/5 dragon with flying and haste for 2 red and 3, which is already not amazing, but fine. But then, when it enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature and opponent controls, which makes it better than fine. Now, you could kill a mana dork, which seems really good. There are definitely a few relevant creatures this can just kill, but it's also worth pointing out that if they have a 5/5 flyer, you can ping their 5/5 flyer for 1, immediately swing in with haste. Are they really going to want to block this and trade their 5/5 flyer for your 4/5 flyer? Probably not. So in some situations, that 1 damage just might act as a way to make it so your opponent can't block this guy, which is also kind of good depending on the situation. But what makes this guy really, really good is it warps for 1 red and 2. And because of the haste, you're getting a lot more value out of this when it warps. You're paying 3 mana, pinging something, maybe killing it, maybe stopping it from blocking, swinging for 4 in the air immediately, and if they don't trade with it, it's getting exiled, and you can play it on a later turn for that full 5 mana and still get a ping off, which is really interesting. And just like I pointed out before, like all of the warp creatures, you can flicker this guy as well. So if you had like 5 mana in your hand, and you had a flicker spell in your hand, instead of just hard casting this guy from your hand, you could warp it for 3, play the flicker spell, do a damage, flicker it, do another damage, and actually kill a 2 toughness creature, while also still swinging in for 4 prior to the flicker. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. I think this card itself is the least interesting of the warp creatures we've seen so far. It's a little bit straightforward, and its ETB ability is kind of negligible, but it still gives us a good look at the direction they're going with Warp and the kinds of things they're trying to do. Plus, it's just a sick dragon, so I think it's really cool, and I'm excited about what else they're doing with Warp, but let me know how you feel about this card down below. That brings us to our last card of the day. This is another rare. This is Ice-Till Explorer, a 2/4 insect scout for 2 green and 2. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. You may play lands from your graveyard, and it has a landfall ability. Whenever a land you control enters, you mill a card. Everything about this just seems kind of crazy to me, especially knowing that we just got Traveling Chocobo in Final Fantasy. We just got all of these landfall payoffs, and now we have Ice-Till Explorer. We saw, you know, the 3 mana thing that searches for 2 lands, the spacecraft earlier in this video. That goes really well with this. Getting to play an additional land on each of your turns is kind of gnarly. Getting to play them from the graveyard is equally gnarly. Getting to fill up your graveyard with stuff that you can do that with because of the landfall ability is also gnarly. If you have the Traveling Chocobo out, you're triggering that landfall ability twice. You're also playing things off the top, and you're playing things from your graveyard. So you're just milling cards, playing off the top, milling cards, playing from the graveyard. You could probably combo out to some really insane stuff. There's also a deck that I'm thinking about making where you use Hedge Shredder along with Traveling Chocobo and just all of the Surveil lands, because the Hedge Shredder makes it so that whenever a land goes into the graveyard from anywhere, it just goes into play. So anytime you surveil a land into the graveyard with the Hedge Shredder out, you just get to put a land into play, which will surveil because it's a surveil land, and put more things into the graveyard and put them into play. And if you have the Traveling Chocobo out, you're getting like double triggers, and it just gets really insane. And I feel like a card like this just fits into that. That might just be some kind of weird combo deck with different ways that it can kind of pivot depending on the board state. You don't necessarily need this card for it to function, but if they happen to get rid of like one of your combo pieces, this could sort of help fill in. There's just a lot of potential with a card like this. There's so much you could do with land being so relevant right now after the Final Fantasy set. But I am super curious what you guys think of this card and what you'd want to use it with, because I feel like there's a ton of untapped potential. I feel like there's a lot this thing could do and be comboed with in decks, because there's just so much land shenanigans, landfall shenanigans in Standard right now, and obviously so much more coming. We've even got the lander tokens on the way. Like, land decks are about to be crazy, and there's just so many options to consider. So if you have ideas about what you could combo this with, what kind of deck you could build around this, definitely let me know in the comments, because I think there's just a ton of potential with this one. And man, this set is just looking absolutely crazy. But that's going to bring us to the end of the video, guys. When there are more leaks, more spoilers, I'll make sure to get that stuff out to you ASAP. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You're in the right place. And I have a ton of crazy deck tech content on the way as well. Some really interesting Standard brews that I don't think anybody else is thinking of, that are super relevant now after the post-ban meta. So look forward to all that stuff, and be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/QuarantineCapricorn, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Smash that like button, do the like thing use your finger and press the like button, because it helps me so much. You don't even know, guys. You don't understand. You don't understand. Press the like button. Let me know in the comments if you did it, because I love you forever. I'll see you on the next one. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence, and they've even partnered with Star City Games to host their competitive play tour at every single SCG Con event starting in August. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a one-of-one stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community-first approach with a card database and deck builder available via Cardio, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.